Hey everybody, welcome to the Faith and Fandom podcast. This is the technically an Artist Alley aftermath, but it's not really an Artist Alley aftermath because I wasn't in an Artist Alley and I wasn't vending. It's more I went to a nerd thing and I'm going to tell you about it. So we're going to call it the Faith and Fandom Renaissance Rambling. Cool, sounds great. I went to my first large-scale Renaissance festival, the Carolina Renaissance Fest in Huntersville, one of those words, North Carolina, outside Charlotte. And I chose to go this time for the first time back when I started making a Delicious in Dungeon cosplay. Because I realized if I was going to put large amounts of dollars and time and work into making a cosplay, I wanted to get the most use out of it. And so I planned to take it to the Carolina Renaissance Festival. Even before I got it done, I was kind of mapping out my time frames and things like that. And so I took it to the Carolina Renaissance Festival this year. And I'll say this: it's a very unique experience if you've never been. This is one of those things that you take the interstate to get outside of Charlotte, and when you get off the interstate, there's already brown official government city signs showing you where to go to get to the Renaissance Festival, and there's literally miles between point A and point B where the traffic is just people getting into the parking lot. I go to things like GalaxyCon where it's massively large, but it's massively large in a small space and people come in at various points. But this was a different thing, and it was very, very huge in its own right. And I will say the parking is extremely well done. Imagine if Chick-fil-A was running the parking for a major convention. This is about how that goes, because I'll dare say this was smoother than maybe any Chick-fil-A parking I've ever seen. Maybe not faster, but or drive-through than I've ever seen, but definitely smooth. You pull up into a big field. They line you up, almost like a county fair type situation. But once you get in there, you get out of your car and you see, at least when I went, all these people putting on their various costumes. And there was just this immaculate fantasy world taking place, even in the parking lot, before I ever made it into the festivities. Now, the first thought I had as I stood in the parking lot and put my cosplay on was, oh, this is a different type of nerd. Y'all on some other stuff. Because this wasn't pop culture geeks per se. This wasn't, specific, anime things or stuff like that. This is just a whole branch of people wanting to do stuff in a massive scale on a fantasy and nerd level. And it was a different type of nerd. It's the same type of situation that when I went to the Wizard of Oz theme park. I had just finished doing the Wizard of Oz play, and so I wanted to go to the Wizard of Oz theme park, and the dedication and drive and people investing in Wizard of Oz costumes at that point was like surprising. This was a whole nother level to it. And put on my cosplay with my frying pan, my big old wok, and this is one of those days. It's probably one of the only days. I think cosplay is the only time I go a whole day without glasses because I need them to see. And so as I'm walking through this field with my giant wok and my helmet with horns on it, like, this is gonna be a long day. But I'm thankful that when I made my cosplay, I made sure that my tunic had pockets, which was, definitely a win. But going in, it really is kind of like a It's a lot more like going to a theme park than it is going to a county fair. It's a county fair vibe, but with theme park level dedication. There are permanent structures and castles and shops and things of that nature all over the place. But you know, with good intentions and good effort. Um, there's lots of innuendos that abound as well. I got three inappropriate statements from workers before I even made it into the actual perimeter of the event. Some dealing with the structures of my helmet, and I'm gonna leave that be. And you know, there's just a lot of things being said as you're walking. Um, but yeah, it was cool. There was a stage that had a druid rock band called Crack, like Craic. There were jugglers, there were fire thingies, there were minstrels, there were storytellers, there were swings and rides, and just a ton of stuff. It really was like walking around a theme park. And you just kind of have to know what you're looking for. Places to buy swords, places to do archery, places to throw knives and axes and ninja stars, and just a ton of cool stuff like that. People, if you're buying leather, if you're buying books or fairy wings or wands or parasols, I mean, it was just. There's also, I thought was a neat thing, was there was a place to rent costumes. So if you didn't have a costume and you didn't want to be the lone muggle wearing a Dale Earnhardt shirt, you could go get yourself a costume. And I got pretty darn hungry and thirsty because I'm stubborn. Because I wanted to find the unique stuff. Because I didn't want to go to a counter and get a Pepsi in a 20-ounce bottle. I didn't want that. I wanted unique things. And but the lines were kind of astronomical for food until 4 o'clock. Then you could pick and choose because the world was your oyster. Finally, I did. I got an iced apple cider and a frozen coffee at some point in time, just because I gave up on getting anything else. But it was cool. They're famous for doing pickles and things like that and jerky, so I definitely got some jerky and a pickle. The pickle purveyors at this Renaissance Festival were definitely less entertaining than the ones I've seen on TikTok. And yeah, it was fun though. It was a good experience. There's lots of great shops and things like that. I wasn't there to buy things. I was basically there to be in cosplay and to connect with other cosplayers and just have a good time. And I saw and normally if I do anything nerdy, I run into people I know. And the only people I ran into that I know were people that were working there. Mark and his relational counterpart from Mark Does Things. He does swords and he does flames, he does lightsabers and stuff like that, and he was teaching a spinning staff activity there. But yeah, like I didn't run into anybody else I actually knew already, which was kind of a crazy thing. I sat around for a falconry show where birds and owls and stuff did cool things, and watched some sword fights and things like that. It was a good day. Now, I highly recommend it. It's definitely worth the money, but you need to plan a couple things. I would say is make sure you, regardless of what your costume is, wear good footwear, because it is a lot of walking. And realistically, if you're going to get a full experience, you're probably going to circle the entire property 3 to 4 times before you're done for the day. And also, as my friend Deborah pointed out, a lot of these performers in every aspect are going to have a bucket pass, a basket. They're going to ask for tips. So bring a stack of ones, so that you can tip people, the bands and things like that, because, they're out there hustling, doing their stuff. On the food things, I did get a pastry, a cream cheese, raspberry pastry thing, and a cannoli. Both were banging. Towards the end of the day, I got a turkey and cheese croissant from the bakery near the entrance, which was, I gave Jesus all the praise in the world, because after walking, I believe, according to Pokemon, I put in about 5 to 6 miles. I was hungry, and that thing hit the depths of my broken soul. Yeah, it was good. What else was there? Got some cool stuff. But one of the things that made it it was a cool experience all on its own. What made it a great experience for me was the response to my cosplay. I've been wearing this same cosplay since July, or working on it at least since July, because it's a long process, and I had been just really, like, not just focused on it, but it was something that I really wanted to get done well. And so I got it done in July, but it wasn't done well enough. And then I didn't have a lot of opportunities to wear it after that, where it was too hot. So I didn't really start wearing it until October. And I wore it to Fayetteville Comic Con, and then I think I wore it to another event. And then I wore it to Halloween, when I DJ'd for the city, and I've done it for a few TikToks. And here's the thing, Fayetteville Comic Con, I got a really good response to it in terms of like 8 to 12 people were really excited about it, which was cool. And they were very enthusiastic, and it made a lot of people happy, especially because I was giving out food if you recognized me or took a photo. At this event, I got recognized, called out, encouraged, or had a photo taken of me every 2 minutes without fail the entire day I was there. It was ridiculous. I made a comment to one of the friends that I knew that was there and said, "Oh, this is what it must be like to be an attractive person." Because this is not normally what happens. Because I've put in some real hard work into some cosplays before. My Hush cosplay, which was, I think, technically my first cosplay. A lot of work. My Fat Gum, my Shy Guy, my Mankind. I put a lot of work into those. But none as much as I put into this one. And even the night before I left, I was altering, reinforcing, and trying to strengthen the quality of different aspects of the cosplay that I don't feel like were strong enough yet. And, I put a lot of work into it, and I was like, as I was walking in, I was like thinking, I had two thoughts. One, the first thought was, I wonder if they're not going to let me bring this frying pan in, which, by the way, and I don't say this is a negative, there are no security precautions at this thing. None. Like, nobody checked anything at all. You scanned your ticket. I'm just saying, there are no security precautions. I could have walked in there with like real swords and nobody would have blinked at me, or anything else. So my walk just made it right in there. But that was one thought. The other thought was like, it'd be nice if a couple people recognized me. I took photos all day long, and I got love and praise and excitement. I felt really happy about the response for it. Because, realistically, if there's any place that's going to really appreciate a Delicious in Dungeon cosplay, it's either going to be a Renaissance festival or it's going to be an anime event. And this was just something I'd never really experienced before. and I was pretty grateful for it. Some person gave me a sticker. A dude very loudly called me Dungeon Daddy, which didn't need to happen, but it did happen. Um, and I just kind of awkwardly chuckled and walked away. Like, I know I was wearing a helmet, but I was like, you could tell in my face. I'm just like weirdly receiving that statement. And towards the end, right before I walked out, some other folks gave me a little metal light bulb pendant that says I deserved it for my creativity. I did run into 3 other Delicious in Dungeon cosplayers, which was really cool. And that was neat to see. And they flagged me down and we got a group photo together. And one of the things, too, there's an Ice King, which was the first photo anybody asked for of the day from Adventure Time. And when the Ice King took the photo, he's like, as he walked away, he's like, y'all, I'm a real cosplayer now. And, you know, it was neat just to hear that response, that, he was excited to be in cosplay and be doing cosplay with other people. I guess it was his first time. But, there is something about a validation of being welcomed and recognized and encouraged in that process. Yeah, it was a good experience. I don't know that it's anything I could do practically with Faith and Fandom, because honestly, people were wearing priest and monk costumes and like clergy costumes. That's just part of the thing, and it's not really anything I think I could do a practical outreach at. Yet, I don't know. It's just I went into it just to explore the first time. But it's definitely a good, creative, fun environment. So I would highly recommend, if that's your jam, if you want to wear a costume, if you want to do stuff. And they did different weekends. Like one weekend was a pirate weekend. So also there was lots of One Piece cosplayers dressed up for Pirate Weekend. This upcoming weekend is going to be Time Traveler Weekend, which has a Doctor Who vibe, but honestly could be anything. And they do different stuff with it. So, yeah. I went to my first major Renaissance festival in North Carolina. I went to a smaller one in Myrtle Beach once. But this is like going to Carowinds with royal garb. And yeah, I will say that my forearms were beefy as all get out by the end of the day from carrying around that giant walk. Because it's heavy. It was so bad that on the way back to my house after the day was done, I I stopped at McDonald's and I tried to hold out my credit card to give to the lady at the window, and my whole forearm cramped up and I couldn't hold on to the credit card. That's how tired my arm was from carrying around this giant walk for like 8 hours. But yeah, the thing runs from October through November. So every weekend in October, every weekend in November, and it does sell out. So you will need to buy tickets in advance. So if you have any interest in checking out the Carolina Renaissance Festival, I'm a noob to it. So I'm sure that a lot of my insight and efforts, is very shallow. My friend Deborah, Litmus Cosplay, went the week before I did, and so I asked her, I was like, all right, give me the rundown. What do I need to know? And she gave me a very thorough list of things to do and check out. So it's neat. So just throwing it out there, if it remotely interests you, you should definitely check it out. And just because lots going on, I'll take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters for being as awesome and supportive as you are. So Lynn Turner, David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Jay Sheed, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for taking the time to be as awesome and encouraging as you are. And I hope that wherever you're going, that you feel as welcomed as I've felt at the Renaissance Festival, and that God opens good doors for you to be able to be welcomed and be agents of encouragement, peace, grace, and reconciliation. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I hope to see you at a con real soon. On that note, I'm going to potentially my last con of the year this weekend, which is Boone Comic Con, November 16th in Boone, North Carolina. I'll talk to you guys later.